Welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt Jason.
I've been doing this podcast since September of 2012, and boy, are my lips tired.
This is your daily dose of happy. We are so happy you decided to join us today. Anne-Marie is unfortunately under the weather and not able to join us today, but she will hopefully be back again next week, and we look forward to that. But I am joined today by Mandy Hart, who has one of the more interesting kinds of fields that you can be involved with. She helps people on a coaching basis with stuff related to sexual stuff of various kinds, and we're going to learn more about that in a moment. But first of all, Mandy, welcome. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm excited. I love that this is a live platform, and it's knowing that it's not going to be edited. I really like that. So
Well, I like it too, actually, because this is my 14th year doing the podcast. My first few years, I edited regularly because I thought you had to make everything nice and clean and tidy and proper. Until a good listener contacted me and said, you're ruining it when you do that, right?
Yeah.
And so I stopped, and it made my life a whole lot easier.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? And it's
Yeah.
basically the best metaphor for what I help people do is just stop editing everything they do in life and just be more authentic. And amazingly, it makes things so much easier, even though it can feel really hard.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's always taking us outside the comfort zone when we start actually to become real with ourselves, and that's really what
Yeah.
that's about. But
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, but we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves here.
Yeah.
Let's find more about who you are. You gotta kind of clue the audience in on who
Yeah.
you are and how you ended up doing what you're doing.
So, this has been a long time in the making. Back in 2010, I got my master's in public health, and I was really motivated to get into sexual health education and programming after my personal journey of I found out at 22 that I had genital herpes, type 1, which I learned a lot about and realized that there was so much that I didn't know and wanted to know. And and then I learned pretty quickly that sexual health education and programming in the US is not an easy path to go down when you're trying to really educate people. So I got discouraged, I guess you could
Sure.
say, and then my path totally veered in a different direction. And then a couple years ago, I found myself spending a lot of time on Reddit, which started out because I wanted to talk about a TV show. I made my account so I could talk about the reboot of Dexter.
Oh.
And and then of course I found myself answering questions about herpes, and then that quickly led to answering general questions about sex, and then before I knew it, I was spending a lot of time on Reddit answering questions, talking to people privately. And then it got to the point where people were asking me, where could they make an appointment with me, or could they find me? Did I have a website? And I realized I don't, but I should. So I signed up for my certification so that I could do this for real. And here I am. And it's been really, really fascinating.
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
imagine. Well,
Yeah.
it's also a very common kind of story in terms of the guests who come onto the program, in that you were going down one path and life came along and said, "Nope, you're going over here."
Hmm.
And you had no intention of going over there until life kind of pushed you over there. That was your experience as well. One of the things I always am curious about when that happens is when you kind of got the nudge, was your first reaction like, "No, that's not the direction I'm going here"?
Well, when I graduated, I was actually I got a job at a hospital doing research, and it definitely felt like a stepping stone, and it ended up being an amazing opportunity. And I got a lot of really good experience. I met a lot of really cool people. And then the grant that was funding my position was running out.
Hmm.
And I had a chance to do something different where I worked, it was more like I was moving towards family type
Hmm.
and away from my personal career path. And that ended up being something that stuck. And so, you know, I had looked up sex therapy, like maybe getting a license to do that. And those programs never called to me. So I never really found that path back to this until Reddit. And I started
Okay.
working with people one on one and people from all over the world. And it just, I mean, it sucked me in. Like
Yeah.
I I had on Reddit, they do this thing now where they keep track of how many days you've engaged and
Oh,
you have like a streak.
yeah.
And once you reach 2 years, I think you reach like basement dweller status.
Okay.
And I've been posting, I don't know, something like 530 some days in a row, or like commented or,
Mm.
engaged in some way. And I'm just like, oh my God, I can't, like, it's like hard to stop
Mm.
once you see that, that tracker,
Well, that kind of gamification is intentional. They want you to feel
Oh
that way.
yeah,
You keep doing
it's,
it.
it's ridiculous. But I mean, I never thought that Reddit was going to be, I really just wanted to talk about TV shows and movies. Like
Hmm.
that's, because I like to talk about stuff.
So it
And
wasn't completely out of left field, but close.
um yeah, uh this is where I shine, I guess you could say.
Okay.
Is helping in some way.
Mhm.
And so I think I'm always itching for that opportunity. If it's
Mm.
not helping people, it's finding dogs on the side of the road and ending up with a pit bull puppy in my back seat and
Wow.
like no plan for what to do, and not really being in a position to handle a dog with so much energy, yet that's what I do. I get myself into these situations where I don't I don't know. It's like I feel compelled and I do it, and then I do the best I can with where I'm at
I
with
is
it.
that a good thing? I mean, you're kind of presenting it in a way, it's like, well, on the one hand, on the other hand.
It is a good thing because I love it, but it's a lot to take on.
Mm.
And if I had all the resources in the world, I
Oh, yeah.
would do everything I could. Um, but I don't. And that makes it really challenging to do this kind of work
Sure.
because a lot of the people who really need the help can't access it, which is,
Mm.
again, why Reddit is so cool. But Reddit can also be a not great place if you're not getting good advice, let's say,
Oh, sure.
um, and so yeah, there's a part of me that wishes, and there's a big part of me that wishes I could help everyone and just give and give and give. But there's only so much of that you can do
Right, yeah, there's
before.
only one of you. Yeah, that turns out to be a limitation. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And like I need to, keep a roof over my head and stuff like
Right.
that. So
Yeah.
it's tough. I'm 39 and I feel like I'm really just kind of figuring out what it really means to be like an adult, a
Mhm.
a real responsible. I mean, I'm not the most responsible in every aspect because I am sort of spontaneous, and I make decisions based on instinct, not necessarily like full consideration of all the consequences.
Well, speaking as somebody who has a long history of over planning, that can actually be a good thing.
Mm.
you have that ability.
Oh God, planning is the bane of my existence, I swear. Yeah, I, but I'm like trying to figure that out because
Mm,
you got to find a balance,
yeah,
and um, that's it. Always comes back to balance. Always, everything.
sure. Yeah, because that's how we keep ourselves into balance. I mean, I like I said, I was a consummate over planner. I
Hmm.
would say even addicted to it to the point
Mm,
where I could plan endlessly without actually doing anything, for
yeah,
like
that's
weeks at a time.
interesting. I've had clients actually like that
Mm.
who they need that planning in order to feel control, I guess. Um,
Well, it's more like you're looking for control. I'm not sure you actually feel
right.
it.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
it's the pursuit of
right.
this feeling like we have control, which nobody has
Nope.
control over anything other than, what you do for yourself in reaction to all the things that are
Yeah,
happening.
your response. How you respond
Yeah.
is what you have control over, and
Yeah. Well, we
that's
don't
actually one of the
even,
most that's like the great breakthrough that most of us encounter at some point. We say, "Oh,
yeah.
wow, that actually gives me control I didn't know I had."
Hopefully people figure that out. I I feel for people who don't
Mm,
ever figure that out. But uh what was I going to say? Oh, yeah, I mean, we don't even have control over our own bodies. Like we might encounter things that happen that, I mean, we age, for example, and we don't have
mhm.
control over that. But we can respond to it.
Yes.
So it's very limited in what we actually have control over other than just how we react.
Well, personally, I also think that that control gives us a lot more power than we initially realize.
Absolutely. It's everything.
Yeah.
It's everything.
So you found yourself on the path of helping people with sexually oriented issues,
Mhm,
and like you said, it stemmed out of your own personal experience. You
mhm.
went through something that has a lot of negative association in the culture, and that creates. I think you used the word shame. That's a word that's usually associated with something like this.
Mm, mhm,
Personally, I've been through stuff. My own shame, if you will, where sexual stuff is concerned, comes
mhm.
from my upbringing. I was brought up in a family that was not super religious, but we were like main participants. We were like the leading family in a church, and
Okay.
we were taught. My family taught me that you weren't even supposed to date until you were in your 30s, let alone get married.
Oh,
You
yeah.
like 35 was like you don't do anything before that, which seriously messed me up in major,
Yeah.
major ways. And even to this day, still affects me in ways
Mhm,
that just kind of crop up when I least expect it.
mhm.
So I mean, there
Yep.
are lots of different ways we can feel shame.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and I don't think anybody escapes it. I I you know, I've been interested in sex for as long as I can remember. And I I figured out self-pleasure very, very early.
Mm,
And I think that's actually a much more common experience for kids than people either realize or are willing to admit or will
right.
even admit to themselves.
Mm,
It's more common in girls, um, but it 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 happens no matter your gender. And I think it for me, because I was so young, I didn't necessarily associate the shame with it. It was
mm,
more like it just felt good and was fun and I
mhm,
liked it. And
mhm,
so I leaned into that and I wanted to learn as much as I could. So
mm.
I'd stay up late watching Loveline with Dr. Drew and Adam Carolla.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And um, and then I started watching Talk Sex with Sue.
Mhm.
She's a nurse practitioner who educated about sex and ended up having some TV shows. She was Canadian, and I grew up in the suburbs of Detroit, so we would get the Canadian
Okay.
shows,
Yeah.
and she she was so cool, and the way she was so candid and helpful, I just got sucked in, and it it's I feel like it's been a part of my life for forever. And my mom works for a gynecologist for over 20 years, and
Oh, so there's a
um,
family connection too.
I yeah, my yeah, my mom, super awesome. Like, sh- she she would go around to the high schools and teach how to give self breast exams
Mm,
to screen for lumps and things like that to
mhm.
the high school girls. And so she had these like boob models in a box. And I remember we had like boxes of boobs that were just sitting next to the kitchen table, in the living room. And I look back on that and I think like, man, she was so cool. I mean, she is cool. She's still cool. But yeah, I think it's funny though. We weren't necessarily a super open. We weren't really an open family at all where we talked about stuff.
Hmm.
But I knew if I ever had a question or needed anything, I could go to her. And so I did. So actually, when I found out I had herpes, she was the first person I called. And she honestly, I think I had that self-pitying feeling for about 5 hours. And then it turned into like, well, that makes sense. Like, are you very surprised? It's like I kind of always knew at some point it was going to happen because it's a numbers game almost, and like anybody can get it at any point. Children get it
Mm.
from their parents or, older like adults who just kiss the sorry, I keep knocking the table and it's
Yeah, that's all right.
shaking.
No problem.
Um uh so I can talk more about this, but I just realized, hey, it happened. Like you don't have to fear it anymore because here you go. And I remember like when my mom took me to the airport to send me off to undergrad college, I went out of state. Um, I remember asking her about it. Like, how do you know if you have it? And we had a whole conversation, and it's because I knew in the back of my mind, like, girl, you're gonna go crazy at school. Like, you know, be educated, know what you're doing.
Mm.
And I tried to be responsible, and I went and I saw the campus gynecologist and I asked to get a test, and she said no. I mean, she recommended against it. And
Really?
yeah, this was like 2004. And at the time, I was not empowered enough or educated enough to know, hey, you can still get this. Just because
Mm.
the doctor recommends against it doesn't mean you can't push and still ask,
Yeah, sure.
because it's not on a standard panel, which a lot of people don't realize. And but I remember like it was important to me and I thought about it, and then I I got it, and it was type 1, and that's what people associate with cold sores, but I got it on my genitals. And so then I was like, wait, huh? And then I realized, you know, I thought I knew. I thought I was educated. I thought I really was like being careful. And
Mm.
I didn't realize that, but now I'm like, you know, obviously it's obvious to me now that I know all the things that I know, but back then
Sure.
I did not. And that's, you know, the case with a lot of people.
Yep. Hey, I fall in that category. I really don't know much about it. I think I told you that before we got started here. I
Mhm.
mean, what are the numbers like? You said you knew what the numbers were like. Give us an idea. What kind of numbers are we talking about?
Oh, well, when I said it's a numbers game, I meant like there's only so many people you can physically be with before, it's like 1 in 4 people have
Oh wow. Okay.
I mean, I don't that So, it's there. Okay, so you have type 1 oral, those are cold sores.
Hmm.
Type 1 genital, same strain of herpes, just on your genitals.
Hmm.
Then you have type 2, which is what for a long time people just called genital herpes and associated genital herpes with type 2. And then in like the least amount out of all of those, you can have type 2 oral. That doesn't really happen nearly as much as the
Okay.
other combinations. It might be more of a concern for immunocompromised people, or honestly just bad luck. Uh, but like let's say you even just kiss 5 people, the chance that you kiss somebody that had herpes pretty high.
Yeah. If it's 1 in 4, it's almost, yeah, it's almost a certainty.
It depends on what age group you look at too, because the older you get, the more chance you have of getting it
Sure.
if you're with more partners, and so it's not necessarily that straightforward. But when I was going to college, I was single and I was ready to mingle. So
Mhm.
you know, I it was on my mind for sure.
Mhm.
But and then it's funny. I don't talk about this that much just because honestly, I don't really think about it that much. But um, so that day, I went to my friends uh, just because I wanted to like be around people. And I told everybody, I'm a loudmouth and I don't really like keep, I don't know, I live sort of inside out. And so I went and told my friends, and one of my friends came home and she was really upset and crying. And she had just broken up with her boyfriend of several years and they
Mm.
were pretty serious. And she walked in and announced that they broke up. And I said, I have herpes. And she was like, man, that's why I love you. Because I just like, it like instantly just made her feel like, yeah, like life happens to all of us. And
Mm.
it was
Yeah.
really funny. It was funny.
Well,
Yeah.
you also found a really great way to, like, break her cycle that she was in, because you get into a cycle when you're going through something like that, especially something that's as emotionally, um, powerful as going through a breakup.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
anything that breaks that's gonna be helpful.
Yeah. It was just really funny. I'll never
Mhm.
forget that. But then, yeah, I mean, I made the decision that, I mean, I knew that no matter what, I was going to always tell people.
Mhm.
And so, because of that, because I made the decision to disclose, changed my life. Like it really did. Because
How so?
uh, when you tell people something like that, you learn pretty quickly about them.
Mm.
Like it, it's actually a great weeding system. You can weed people
Yeah.
out really quickly the sooner you tell them. There's a lot of people who are, nervous. They think they got to get to know someone first before they're comfortable sharing something like that. And I
Mhm.
understand that. And I'm not judging, but the for me personally, the sooner I disclosed, the quicker I was able to figure out, am I going to move forward with this person or not?
Mm.
And so it changes things.
Well, you're
And
also reminding me of, a very famous, case, not herpes, HIV,
mhm,
but, Magic Johnson, when he was
mm,
first diagnosed with HIV, found that many of his colleagues in the NBA didn't want to have anything to do with him,
yeah.
except for his arch rival, Larry Bird, who called him on the phone and say, "Are you okay?" Now, these are 2 guys who had been going head to head and were trying to beat the crap out of each other for, like, the last 10 years, and Larry Bird calls him up.
Oh,
And it just completely changed their entire relationship. They're like fast friends to this day.
interesting. I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, it's exactly right. Um, it can it can create a barrier, or it can be really connecting.
Hmm.
And when you're open and honest with someone, they'll they're more likely to give you openness
Sure.
and honesty as well. So uh, when I am on Reddit and I am responding in the herpes subgroups, which are or subreddits, which are those can be they can be pretty dark, because a lot of times people will go to Reddit because they want to vent, and so you don't necessarily have the people who are like having good experiences on
Right.
there talking about their good
Well, that's
experiences.
like the social media norm. I mean, I think we've kind of gotten used to the fact that most of the social media stuff is negative rather than positive. So you kind of learn that after a while.
Yeah, I mean, I think it Reddit has its own special culture where it's anonymous and people really say what they're really feeling and really thinking, whereas
Mhm.
on something like Instagram or TikTok, you get that edited version of
Right.
people
Hmm.
where they're curating what they show you, and
Yeah.
they show like the great happy parts of their life, but then behind the scenes maybe they're not so happy. And so on Reddit, you get a filter of a different kind. Depends on what subreddit you're in. The herpes groups in particular are just kind of sad because people go there and they think their lives are over. And I try my best to empower people, but it's really hard when, it's stigmatized and people really do think that, they're never going to have a chance at love. They're
Mm.
it there's quite a spectrum of how you can handle it, and some people can't handle it, and
Mhm.
it's really unfortunate because it can be a positive thing if you allow it or you embrace it. I don't know. That's, maybe not true for everyone, but it certainly was true for me. So,
Oh,
it,
beyond the obvious direct stigma thing, what are some of the the commonalities, if you will, that are true among people who are buying into this idea that their life is basically over?
well, it's the shame.
Hmm.
Uh, a lot of people think it's a reflection of who they are as a person.
Mm.
I see a lot of like self shaming. I'm a whore. I'm uh, a slut. I deserve this. I'm being punished. And it's it's not like, do we do that to ourselves if we get the common cold or the flu? And
Yeah.
but because it has that relationship to sex, then it becomes this morality thing. And I mean, it's like we act like sex isn't a very human thing that,
Mm.
and that opens the door to like the shame talk, and people just they people carry a lot of shame when it comes to their sexuality, and often it is because of how they were raised. Not, there's all kinds of factors, but people compartmentalize. They learn to compartmentalize. They have who they are, and then they have their sexual being. But the truth is, you are both those things together.
Mm.
And people have a really hard time joining those up. And so, you know, not just herpes, there's even things that have treatments.
Mhm.
uh, People still beat themselves up, and it's like, well, at least you could get treated for that, like
Yeah.
it's a one and done. Not always, but it's, you know it's the way we respond, the way we react. It's
Well, it's also cultural. I think that's what you're kind of driving at. I remember hearing, I don't remember who it was. It was a British pop star, I think it was, and I don't remember which one it was, who made the comment that Americans are prudes out in society and wild and abandoned in the bedroom. That there's like two different personalities to Americans. And that might be a little bit of an extreme way of describing it, but I don't think it's all that far away from the truth.
I don't think it's far away from the truth at all,
Yeah.
at all.
I mean,
And
America
it,
was
it,
originally a Puritan country. It's not terribly surprising.
yeah, there's a lot of places that it's not just America, we have, I think, a special way of over sexualizing a lot of things
Mm.
and then trying to act like we're not. I don't know.
I personally think that's more of an extension of the Puritan thing. It's a way if you have something that you're too far one way, you take it too far the other way to kind of like offset it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then there's the balance is so extreme.
Mm.
It's like that's not really balance. That's a balancing act. It's
Yeah.
not, you know what I mean? Like
It's
I
more
don't
like a
know.
pendulum than a balance.
Yeah, yeah.
Swing over here, swing over
I
there.
was thinking of a seesaw, but
Yeah,
yeah,
that's the same idea. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's one of those really challenging things that we're all kind of immersed into, and it almost doesn't even matter whether or not we have found we have some sort of major issue going on there. Just by being in the culture, we're affected by it.
yeah, exactly. I just wrote a blog post. It was really hard for me to write, actually. It was about purity culture.
Hmm.
And in the email of the notifications, I just said purity culture failed everyone.
Yeah.
Not just people who grew up in it,
Mm.
but everyone. We're all affected by it. And it's, yeah, it's tough when, like, for example, I'm fine with the fact that I have herpes. It doesn't bother me. I don't think about it. It
Mhm.
doesn't,
It's not
it's
on the top of your mind.
not even close.
Mhm.
And then if I encounter somebody or like I'm trying to be with somebody and it's always at the top of their mind, or they do have that shame or stigma around it, it's like I don't have time for that. But then it's like I respect their feelings. It's just it's hard because the way we interact with each other, we
Mhm.
impact each other. And so I don't know. My I've been with people who, you know, don't want me to talk about it in public, even just generally.
Mhm.
And it's like, okay, you know, I it's I don't know. I don't like to censor myself.
I suspect that it's actually tied to a broader thing. This is a trend that I've talked about quite a bit on the show in a number of different contexts. But I'm really hyper aware these days of how much of a blame culture we have and how much of a victimhood culture we have. And in my experience, the particularly the victimhood side of that is really all about self-perpetuating. Keep perpetuating the victimhood. Find different ways to be victims or to see victimhood in others and so forth. And it doesn't start to it does pretty much envelop the lives of, I would say, a large majority of the population. Not just on sex. I mean, on a wide
Yeah,
range
yeah,
of topics.
yeah, yeah. We're all victims of something. That's that's part of life. Nobody goes through life completely protected. Even being protected can be harmful.
Mm,
That's why people expose young kids to, like, there used to be like pox parties before there was the chicken pox vaccine, so that kids could get the chicken pox
mm,
like virus. And there's something to be said for building up strength. And so, even if you did grow up in a bubble, like that doesn't protect you from anything. That
mm,
actually keeps you from developing the skills you need for when
mhm,
eventually something does happen. And
mm,
so being a victim is, I have all the compassion, but then it's like, what are you going to do with that.
Exactly.
And it can be really hard depending on what it is that we're talking about. There, underserved populations who don't have access to certain resources, or they
Mhm.
try to get resources and are turned away. Um, it can be really hard to get the proper help that you need,
Mhm.
and that can contribute to that perpetuating the victimhood because you don't get the help that you need.
Mm.
Um, but then, if you are motivated, I have a client right now who's going through arguably one of the hardest things he's probably ever been through in his life. And he's like running towards it with a smile on his face almost because he's really embracing the opportunity to grow.
Wow.
And I'm just like, I am so here for it. Like,
Yeah.
it's
That's
really cool.
admirable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really cool. And I keep telling him, I keep trying to like be his cheerleader. And sometimes it can be hard to see the things in ourselves that other people see that they admire, think is worthy of celebration. And so when I take those moments to celebrate him, I can tell that it's nice when people say nice things to us,
Yeah.
but I'm just like, I mean it. I mean everything I'm saying. Like this, it's so admirable that you are willing to grow and look at yourself and look at others through a different lens of compassion or empathy or whatever. And it's not easy.
Well, it's
It's
also
not easy.
important. I mean, I'm glad that you're able to do that because just to give you a sort of a context, I had a conversation with a friend recently who made the comment to me that I held up a harsh mirror to this person.
Mm,
And my I didn't actually say it to the person; it wasn't appropriate at
mm,
the time. But my thought was, it's not the mirror that's harsh. Mirror is just a piece of glass, but we are all mirrors to each other.
hmm.
So that's
Yeah.
why it becomes a case of, well, you can kind of think that because this other person is mirroring something to me, that they're the ones being harsh, but
Mm,
that's not where the harshness is coming from.
hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's challenging. That's a hard thing to face up to, and I think that's actually the root of. I think of it as a pandemic or even an epidemic
Hmm.
of victimhood and blaming that's going on right now, and I think a lot of it has to do with I don't want to have to acknowledge what's in that mirror.
For sure. For sure. I try to take the blame and shame out of the equation and look at everyone through a lens of empathy.
Hmm.
And that could be hard to do for, you know, not every, I don't ask everyone to have empathy for everyone. There's a degree at which that becomes impossible. But when we struggle and we have conflicts with, people we care about, sometimes all we can see is our own hurt. And then that the disconnect happens where we don't understand each other, and it's empathy that kind of brings that back and allows people to have real conversations, real connection. um, but when we're hurt, triggered, it can be hard to try to empathize. And so then the blame comes in, the shame comes in,
Mhm.
and those feelings are somehow, they're more accessible to people. They
Mhm.
seems like it's going to be easier, but it's definitely not better. It doesn't help. It leads to the spiraling, and
Mhm.
I don't know, it's not a good feeling to have inside when you're blaming and or shaming
True.
someone else or yourself.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's never any positive association there. And that's one of the reasons why I was complimenting you on the fact that you were able to be so supportive, to this client in particular. um, over something that was going on well, because we don't get a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
And getting that is really pretty important, because it's one of those counterbalancing things. You were talking about the importance of balance. That's one of the ways that we achieve balance, is by focusing on the positives as a way to counterbalance the negatives that we encounter.
Yeah, and that some people will interpret that as toxic positivity, and you know, uh, it there's a difference between embracing opportunities and making lemonade out of lemons, and then expecting things to be perfect and acting like things are perfect
Mm.
and acting like you can't have feelings and you can't be hurt. Of course you can be hurt. Toxic positivity is when, everything must be good, or I don't know. But it's like you can still pat yourself on the back or recognize certain things while also taking accountability, or like it's balance. But I find that cheerleading, not just for others, but like for yourself, it it can be weirdly motivating and validating, and if nothing else, could be funny. And so I started incorporating cheerleading for myself
Mhm.
into things, and
That's
I
great.
have I have ADHD, so um,
So you're highly focused at it.
there's a lot of things that are really hard for me to do, like the dishes,
Mm.
or taking showers. Like there's just basic activities of daily living. If I do the laundry and then fold my clothes, in my head, I'm like, yeah, you
Mhm.
like I'll fold a shirt and I'm like, you did it.
Mhm.
It's
Sure.
very silly, but it like makes me laugh, and so I
Yeah, I
have
like
a
that.
I have a
And actually, I'm not really a fan of the term toxic positivity, mainly because there's really nothing positive about it. I mean, people try to associate the term with stuff that they say is positive, but really it's about faking positivity,
yeah,
faking
yeah,
something that you don't really feel, which isn't positive. That's like fake it till you make it, that kind of stuff, which is it's a little bit dicey. Because if you don't
yeah,
actually make it, then you actually worked against yourself.
yeah, and I think it's like the expectation
Yeah.
that if you are struggling or something, like you're being negative, and the expectation is that like you're going to keep a smile on your face, and it's it's actually positive is feeling your feelings,
Yeah.
no matter what they are,
Yeah. Sure.
allowing them. It it doesn't really help anybody for anybody to pretend. Now, that's not to say that we we shouldn't have boundaries. Everybody can't always be like vomiting out their emotions all the time on everyone around them. Like that would be a really difficult, like that would be really challenging to navigate. So we have to have
Mhm.
boundaries.
Well,
And
and actually, that's part of the epidemic. I think there is a lot of that goes on. That it's almost gotten to the point where, for a lot of people, it's socially acceptable to just keep vomiting out all that stuff.
yeah, and it I think when people, around those kinds of people, when they don't know how to set boundaries, they end up I was actually just talking about this earlier today, with my client who I've been like hugely celebrating. Um, if we if we don't protect ourselves, then we allow others to suck so much of our energy up
Mhm.
that we're not doing them a real benefit, because at a certain point they'll drain you,
Yeah.
and then without kindness or compassion, that's when it gets to, just shut up already, like, or I
Mhm.
don't want to hear it anymore, with it. I'm like, you need warning signals, like, okay, let's put a cap on this, I'll listen to you vent for 5 minutes, get out everything you need, and then let's move on,
Yeah.
and so it can be hard. I mean, it's it none of these things are easy. I talk about them as if like, oh yeah, this is what you have to do. But I
Mhm.
recognize that these things are not easy by any means. I mean, I can't stress that enough. But if you can learn these skills, it takes time, but that's how you build healthy relationships and you maintain that peace within you. And I think like that pendulum, I I there's a lot of things I could say, but there's, these reactions that we talk about on a societal level. I feel like it can be like a pendulum where
Mhm.
we have these movements or ideas for things. Like I've been reading about toxic masculinity lately because my
Mm.
next blog post is going to be
Mhm.
for men. It's going to be um, to men, and I've just been it's I put a lot of like time and effort into what I'm doing, and so I've been reading about these things. And toxic masculinity actually started. Its roots are in the 80s. There was this um, movement uh, where it was the difference between toxic and deep masculinity. And those terms were coined by men. And there was a shift at some point where now people talk about it as what they're saying is men are toxic. And that's not what toxic masculinity means. But
True.
there's there was this push towards something good, like purity culture. I think
Mm.
purity culture was an attempt at making things better, but then whew, it the pendulum swung too far, and then the response was too far in the other direction. And that's like we're seeing that with the fourth wave feminist movement. I'm a feminist, but I know a lot of people associate that with hating men.
Mm.
And that's not what feminism, that's not what that is at all.
Mhm.
And so with the younger generations, we're seeing like a lot of confusion
Yeah.
and sort of extreme responses because I think we're not really setting a great example or educating or teaching younger people how to be empowered in a healthy, productive way. It's like either you're so empowered, you're empowered to the point of like you will say and do anything and you don't care how it affects other people at all,
Mhm.
or you have no idea how to set boundaries, how to ask for what you want, advocate for yourself. Like it's just everybody's just like flailing.
And I
I
like
don't
your
know.
use of the word purity because to me, the word purity is an example of a black or white term.
Hmm.
In other words, it's a term that doesn't
Hmm.
acknowledge gray area.
Exactly. Exactly. And I'm all about the gray. It's
Right.
funny because I I didn't I thought this was going to be audio only, so I was like, whatever, I don't care what I look like. And so I put on this gray tank top and I was like, I'll wear gray, who cares? Because I try to like look nice if I'm going to be on camera, and gray can be kind of a I don't know, boring color or whatever. But it's funny because you're wearing gray,
Yeah.
uh, and and I'm all about the gray area. I mean, we live in the gray area, whether you like it or not.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We in the entire life that we encounter and enjoy and sometimes get despairing about and everything in between is just one gray after another. I mean, there are different levels of gray, and sometimes
Mhm.
it's more toward the white side, and
Mhm.
sometimes it's more
Mhm.
toward the black side.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's halfway in the middle. It's three quarters. It's one quarter. It's all over the place, and it shifts not just from year to year or month to month or day to day, but minute to minute.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really interesting what happens when you appreciate the past and you look forward to the future, but you just embrace the right now. Because right
Mhm.
now is actually different from the right now that I said the first time. Because that was what, 10 seconds ago?
Mhm.
Like it's fleeting.
And then if you really want to go crazy with it, your right now is going to be different from mine and from that person's over there and from that at the same instant. It's going to be
Yeah.
different experiences at the same moment in time.
Yeah.
Often
Which,
vastly different.
yes. And what's interesting about that is we're all experiencing that. So we're all actually having the same experience
Right.
in that it's
Because we're connected.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. We really are. It's
Fascinating things to me is the fact that we are all individuals and we are all connected at the same time.
mhm. Mhm.
And I have a pretty good handle on that, and yet even as good a handle as I have on that, I still struggle with it at times because on the one hand, on the other hand, that black
Yeah. Yeah, I think people question how much individuality is okay. And I think is that's the balance that we're really looking for, that we're really looking for. Like, who am I as an individual, and how am I showing up in the world and connecting with others in an authentic way? And that's that's what we need to foster in people, the ability to do that.
yeah, and foster it in ourselves, I think. I mean,
Yeah.
that's been I started this podcast, back in 2012 because, I had a business that got wiped out by the 2008 financial crisis. Even though I
Mm,
was not in mortgages or real estate, mine was like,
mhm,
collateral damage, that kind of thing.
mhm,
And 4 years later, it hadn't gotten any better, and I didn't understand
mhm,
why, so I
mhm,
started heard about this law of attraction thing that sounded like a bunch of nonsense, but I figured, "Hey, I'll
mhm,
try anything at this point," so start a
mhm,
podcast, and that turned into this.
mhm,
What has happened since then, I mean, first 300 episodes were all about law of attraction. Now I'm
mhm.
about 2,100 episodes into it, so I'm long past that stage, and what I discovered along the way was not only am I enjoying the format, that's why I kept doing it,
Mhm.
but I keep learning about myself
Yeah.
from a lot of different
Yes.
perspectives.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
fact, it's probably the greatest, gift that the podcast has given me is
Yeah.
interviewing a whole bunch of people like you, hundreds
Yeah.
of people like
Yeah.
you, who all come in with different perspectives,
Yeah.
and I learned so much, particularly from the ones I disagree with, which really
Yeah.
pissed me off. But it really is true. I learned the
Yep.
most.
Yep. I know. I love that. I embrace difference. It can be hard, but I'm just like, give it to me.
Yeah.
I love it. I love hearing different perspectives and just trying to expand my mind. And I'm probably in my life right now where you were when you first started your podcast.
Oh, okay.
And a nice, like, when I show up for my clients, I show up for my clients, but I still walk away with something.
Mm,
I'm not showing up in a place of need. I'm always showing up in a place of service,
mhm.
but I always get something out of it.
Yeah.
And it's really cool. I mean, I really love it.
I totally get it, and I
Mhm.
think that's something that I hope that people get not only the opportunity, but embrace the opportunity in some aspect of their lives in every case, just because there's so much to be gained from it. I suspect a lot of people kind of shy away from it when it comes, but for those who
Mhm.
are willing to embrace it, that's where the people do the greatest amount of growth.
Yeah.
Those are the
Well,
people who develop their lives and take their lives to new levels
yeah.
that other people aren't
Yeah.
able to do for various reasons.
They say that if the universe knocks and you don't answer, it's just going to knock louder.
Yeah, I call
Oh,
that the 2 by 4 method.
yeah. Oh,
That's where you don't listen the first time, then the second time, the third
whack.
time, whack. Yeah, exactly.
Yup, pretty much. Pretty much. And that's when you call me
That's
and
right, yeah,
schedule an appointment with me.
exactly. Well, we should tell people about that, all right? So, we've kind of given people an idea of what you're like. We should tell
Yeah.
people how do we find Mandy Hart? I mean, how
So,
do we do this?
yeah, the best way is just email me or send me a message using the contact page on my website, or you can just go on my website and schedule a free consultation. My my website is Hearts, HARTS, not, there's no E, hearts-desire.com. And I'm on Instagram, so you can reach me there too. It's hearts, same spelling, hearts.desire.coaching. And you have to look for me because I believe I'm shadow banned
Oh
on
my.
Instagram. I got shadow banned pretty quickly.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Interesting. Yeah.
yeah.
So basically what Instagram decided was you weren't doing an Instagram fake persona so that you weren't good enough.
They, it's, gosh, that's a whole other conversation, but social media censors things like talk about giving yourself breast exams. Let's say there was an informational
Mm,
post or something, they'll
mm,
censor that and maybe even ban your account or shadow ban you or whatever. But then there's lots of things on Instagram that people, because sorry, there's a bug. People are playing the game and they're beating the algorithm or the system or whatever. And I mean, you can find videos of women actually breastfeeding on Instagram.
mhm.
Like it's just it's so wild. That's a whole different thing. But the censorship,
Yeah, we could
yeah,
do a whole thing. We could
yeah.
not just the censorship too, but also the things that do succeed. I mean, one of my co-hosts is a gentleman who lives in the Richmond, Virginia area, Joel Elston, and he's also a coach. Uh, he works a lot with young people, particularly boys, but he also has girls as well. And he told me off the show a couple times about some clients of his who are uh, women on Instagram with large followings, and they have basically created an image of themselves on Instagram that they can't match in their personal lives, and it's
Oh yeah.
messing them up big time.
I can only imagine. I can imagine. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a thing. That Instagram persona is not such a good thing.
No, no, it's not. It's it's really not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, we appreciate what you bring to the table. Normally, I have a couple things that I like to do, including my co-host, but since Amory isn't here, I can't really do hers because what I usually have her do, since I tend to ask more of the questions, she'll
Mhm,
jump in too, but I
mhm,
tend to do most of the questioning. I always am doing this from my perspective. She's a former listener, and so she can always come in with, well, here's the way me as a listener, this is how I'm tying this all together. And I love that, but I
mhm,
can't do that today. So
mhm,
we'll have to save that for another day. But what I can do is I want to finish with something that I started a few years ago because of this whole thing about social media, and
mhm,
not just social media, but podcasting and being online in various different ways, blogging. You got this
mhm,
blog going that you're
mhm,
working on now. People publish books, they create courses, they become
mhm,
coaches, they
mhm,
do all kinds of things, and they're reaching out and they're sharing stuff. And because of the way the modern 21st century internet works, we're putting out a lot of free content. We're
mhm.
sharing ideas, we're sharing experiences, sharing knowledge, and we're often usually sharing it with people that we never know anything about. They
Yeah,
they absorb our stuff, they get some value out of it, hopefully, and
yeah,
then they turn into something that helps them in their own lives, and we never even know about it. We don't get credit
yeah,
for it.
yeah.
And I said, well, wait a
Mm,
minute, we should get some credit for that. So I like to finish up my podcast each time by saying that to my guests. So Mandy, on behalf of those people you've never met and never seen, and
mm,
never will meet, and never will see, who you've been helping in ways you didn't
mhm,
even know about,
mhm.
on their behalf, thank you for what you're doing, because you're making a difference in this world.
Thank you for thanking me, because that's that's you're you're touching on something for sure. Talk about free content.
Mm.
I I recently downloaded my Reddit data and I've left over 13,000 comments
Wow.
in almost 400 subreddits over the last 3 years.
Wow.
So,
That's
there's
that's
it's a
crazy.
lot, there's a lot.
Yeah.
So, anyways, yeah, and thank you for doing
Mm.
what you're doing because I think this is really, really cool, and I'm like, the law of attraction, I'm like, please work because 'cause I'm trying, like, I'm trying my best, like, please,
Well, the
universe.
one thing I can tell you is the law of attraction always works. It just isn't so much whether the law of attraction works, it's what your vibration is. So
Uh-huh.
control your vibration and you'll get always what you want.
Yeah.
thing is, we live in a world where we can't always change, control our
Yeah.
vibration.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
why we end up with all kinds of stuff going on.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me. I really
Yeah,
really
my pleasure.
appreciated this conversation.
Yeah, thank you as well. Keep doing what you're doing. You're doing some good stuff.
And you as well. It sounds like you're not stopping anytime soon. So
I think I'm going to do this for the rest of my life.
yeah.
That's
Cool.
how fun this is. Because I
Cool.
love meeting people like you. This is just,
Yeah.
to me, this is one of my favorite ways to get energized.
Yeah. Yeah.
By the time plus I do two of them. I mentioned my friend Joel. We do another one in about 2 hours after we're done here. And so Mondays are like, most people, Mondays are a down day. He talks about this all the time. Monday is his favorite day of the week. And not just because of this, but because of what he does for a living.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a really up day. So yeah, this fuels my Mondays. This fuels my week.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I weirdly like Mondays. But yeah.
So that just means we're among the cool kids. That's all.
For sure. Totally. I'm the coolest.
So thank you, Mandy. We appreciate you so much. Thank you to our podcast listeners everywhere. We will see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.